ऑपरेशन सिंदूर ने आतंक के खिलाफ लड़ाई में एक नई लकीर खींच दी है। एक नया पैमाना, न्यू नॉर्मल तय कर दिया है।
India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi has put Pakistan and the world on notice. He has spelled out India's new red lines after the April 22 Pahalgam terror attack, one of the most barbaric terror attacks perpetrated by Pakistan-backed and trained terrorists on innocent civilians holidaying in the Kashmir Valley. To which India responded resolutely with Operation Sindoor. Hello and welcome to Connecting the Dots. I'm Munir Bhattacharya. Let's connect the dots of the new Sindoor normal.
भारत पर आतंकी हमला हुआ तो मुंह तोड़ जवाब दिया जाएगा। हम अपने तरीके से, अपनी शर्तों पर जवाब देकर रहेंगे। हर उस जगह जाकर कठोर कार्रवाई करेंगे जहां से आतंक की जड़ें निकलती हैं। दूसरा, कोई भी न्यूक्लियर ब्लैकमेल भारत नहीं सहेगा। तीसरा, हम आतंक की सरपरस्त सरकार और आतंक के आकाओं को अलग अलग नहीं देखेंगे।
What you heard are the three pillars of India's fight against Pakistan-sponsored terrorism. Now, this is visual evidence from Operation Sindoor that shows how India dominated Pakistan in the kinetic domain. Here from the three Indian armed forces.
Shown on the screen is the probable enemy PL-15 missile, which is of Chinese origin. This missile has missed its target, and you can see the pieces now which are available with us.
जब जब पाकिस्तान एयरफोर्स ने हमारे एयरफील्ड्स और लॉजिस्टिक इंस्टॉलेशंस में 9 और 10 मई की रात को लगातार हमले किए, वो इस मजबूत एयर डिफेंस ग्रिड के सामने विफल हो गए।
In the current standoff, the presence of our aircraft carrier with large number of MiG-29K fighters and airborne early warning helicopters prevented any suspicious or hostile aircraft to close the Karel battle group within several hundred kilometers.
Ajay Bisaria, former Indian High Commissioner to Pakistan, writes on the new military normal set by India. Operation Sindoor was the latest chapter in an evolving doctrine that India has been shaping since 2016, when it first abandoned strategic restraint with cross-border surgical ground strikes responding to terrorism in Uri. Operation Sindoor may be seen as the next rung of Operation Bandar, the airstrikes in Balakot in 2019 that became a shorthand for a bolder, more kinetic approach to deterrence. That's a new normal set by India in the kinetic domain. Now extend that to the strategic and diplomatic domain. Here too, India has set a new normal.
पाकिस्तानी फौज, पाकिस्तान की सरकार जिस तरह आतंकवाद को खाद पानी दे रहे हैं, वो एक दिन पाकिस्तान को ही समाप्त कर देगा। पाकिस्तान को अगर बचना है तो उसे अपने टेरर इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर का सफाया करना ही होगा। इसके अलावा शांति का कोई रास्ता नहीं है। भारत का मत एकदम स्पष्ट है। टेरर और टॉक एक साथ नहीं हो सकते। टेरर और ट्रेड एक साथ नहीं चल सकते और पानी और खून भी एक साथ नहीं बह सकता।
So India has decided it won't be business as usual. Any act of terror on its soil will be treated as an act of war and will be responded to accordingly. Operation Sindoor has only been suspended and India continues to watch Pakistan's actions closely. No talks with Pakistan will happen on issues other than terrorism and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. Indus Waters Treaty cannot be delinked from action against terrorists, and so India's waters cannot be shared with Pakistan as long as Pakistan supports cross-border terrorism. This is what zero tolerance for terrorism sounds like. Also, India does not welcome third-party mediation with Pakistan, and the India-Pakistan understanding that led to a military pause that is still shaping was reached not due to any third-party mediation as claimed by the Donald Trump administration, but because Pakistan pleaded with the global community for de-escalation after being soundly beaten by India's Operation Sindoor. It is no secret that Delhi's unwillingness to accept any external mediation stems from history and experience. Because, remember, the United States played a partisan role at the United Nations Security Council during the 1947-48 India-Pakistan War. The United Kingdom had then seized the opportunity to persuade the US into adopting a pro-Pakistan stance at the UNSC. So the Harry Truman administration in the US allowed the former colonial power to shape the terms of the debate at UNSC. India had then somewhat naively agreed to refer the dispute to the United Nations on the advice of the last Viceroy, Louis Mountbatten, and it quickly discovered that its legalistic arguments about a breach of international peace and security carried little weight. Again, from early 1960s, India faced pressure from both the US and the UK to negotiate with Pakistan on Kashmir. Not surprisingly, after the 1971 war with Pakistan, while negotiating the Simla Agreement of 1972, Indian interlocutors were careful to insist that the dispute be resolved on a bilateral basis and without resort to the use of force. So even then, when India was materially not as strong as it is today, it had firmly rejected any effort on the part of Islamabad or any other capital to bring in any third party to facilitate a possible settlement. The international community thus needs to appreciate that any such proposal made in the present times is dead on arrival. So from the international community, India only expects that it mounts pressure on Pakistan to give up its policy of supporting cross-border terrorism. It does not seek mediation, and any effort by Pakistan to internationalize Kashmir remains a red line for Delhi. Pakistan instead wants external involvement. It needs the optics. It declares every Western phone call a validation of its stature. It even rebrands military defeats as victories. We are seeing signs of that once again coming from the Pakistani military propaganda wing, ISPR. This is a continuation of misleading claims it made of its triumph in the 1965 and 1971 wars and the 1999 Kargil confrontation, each of which Pakistan lost to India. Pakistan Army uses such tactics to control the domestic narrative. So we can expect Pakistan to indulge more in such tactics like projecting its army chief as a victor and casting the Pakistan Army as the nation's sole savior. Meanwhile, India seems to have registered another strategic win. Reports suggest Washington leveraged the billion-dollar tranche of IMF assistance to Pakistan, conditioning its release on an immediate de-escalation. The message was blunt. Pakistan's economic lifelines now depend on its military behavior. The questions that now need to be asked are, will Operation Sindoor and India's diplomatic offensive put together prevent the next Pahalgam? And will they make Pakistan rethink the costs of using terrorism as strategy to bleed India by 1,000 cuts. India has indeed delivered a credible and coercive slap against Pakistan-sponsored terrorism. It has upped the costs for Pakistan of backing cross-border terrorism. The call from Pakistan's DGMO to his Indian counterpart requesting for a military pause in India's Operation Sindoor shows that India wrested a military advantage and made the adversary reshape its calculus. In other words, with Sindoor, India has demarcated new red lines for Pakistan. When you have a jealous neighbor, dirty tricks are never a surprise. And with Pakistan, that's always been the story. Unable to match India in military or economic power, Pakistan has long relied on one dangerous tactic, that is terrorism. It remains a hub of state-sponsored terror backed by its army and the ISI. But enough is enough. These dirty games can't go unpunished, especially when innocent lives are lost. On April 22nd, terrorists opened fire on a group of tourists in Jammu and Kashmir's Pahalgam. 26 people were killed. Pakistan-backed terrorist group, the Resistance Front, in short TRF, claimed responsibility for the attack. TRF is affiliated to Pakistani terrorist group Lashkar-e-Taiba, and the shocking part was the pattern of the attack. The terrorists singled out Hindus by asking them their religion before shooting them dead.
एक इंसान है उसने उसको गोली मार दी यहाँ पे उसने बोला कि शायद मुस्लिम नहीं है उसने उसको गोली मार दी
15 days after the Pahalgam terror attack, India launched Operation Sindoor on May 7 in response. The Indian Armed Forces carried out coordinated precision missile strikes on 9 terrorist bases. 4 of these bases were deep in Pakistan, such as in areas like Bahawalpur and Muridke. 5 terrorist bases were in Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir, including Muzaffarabad and Kotli. These facilities were key command centers for terrorist groups like Jaish-e-Mohammed and Lashkar-e-Taiba, responsible for attacks like the 2019 Pulwama attack and the 26/11 Mumbai terror attack. Pakistan hit back with drone and missile strikes on May 7, 8 and 9, targeting multiple Indian cities and military installations. But India's air defense systems neutralized all incoming threats. This exposed flaws in Pakistan's HQ-9 system. India launched kamikaze drones to destroy Pakistani air defenses across the country. India neutralized the air defense system of Lahore. India's counter-military actions on the night of 9th and 10th May also became the first instance of a country damaging Air Force camps of a nuclear country. Within 3 hours, 11 air bases of Pakistan were attacked, including Noor Khan, Rafiki, Murid, Sukur, Sialkot, Pasrur, Chunian, Sargoda, Skardu, Bhulari and Jacobabad. India's BrahMos missile went on a guided trip to Jacobabad, and what a fantastic trip it was. Look at its destination. In the strikes, various ammunition depots and bases like Sargoda and Bhulari that housed F-16s and GF-17 fighter jets were hit. 20% of Pakistan's Air Force infrastructure was destroyed in a single night. Operation Sindoor has not only avenged Pakistan-sponsored Pahalgam terror attack, it has also highlighted India's military might. India's homegrown Akash missile defense system proved its power by stopping Pakistani drone attacks. With a range of 45 to 70 kilometers, Akash can shoot down drones, missiles and fighter jets with high accuracy. It was widely deployed along the western border and the line of control in Jammu and Kashmir. On the night of May 8th, the Indian Army successfully blocked several drone intrusions by Pakistan in these areas. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Narendra Modi called out the weakness of the Pakistani army, saying it's no match for India's forces.
पाकिस्तान ने हमारे स्कूलों, कॉलेजों को, गुरुद्वारों को, मंदिरों को, सामान्य नागरिकों के घरों को निशाना बनाया। पाकिस्तान ने हमारे सैन्य ठिकानों को निशाना बनाया। लेकिन इसमें भी पाकिस्तान खुद बेनकाब हो गया। दुनिया ने देखा कि कैसे पाकिस्तान के ड्रोन्स, पाकिस्तान की मिसाइलें भारत के सामने तिनके की तरह बिखर गई। भारत के सशक्त एयर डिफेंस सिस्टम ने उन्हें आसमान में ही नष्ट कर दिया।
Pakistan used weapons made in Turkey and China during the conflict. This included Chinese origin PL-15 missiles, which were intercepted by India's air defense systems. Pakistan also launched Turkish drones, but India's D4 anti-drone system took them down. For the first time, India used the BrahMos supersonic cruise missile in live combat during Operation Sindoor. The BrahMos missile is one of India's most advanced and formidable precision strike weapons. It has a speed nearly 3 times the speed of sound. This high speed significantly reduces enemy reaction time and enhances penetration capability against air defense systems. It can hit a target with an accuracy of 1 meter. After 4 days of a near-war situation, the Indian government announced that Pakistan had reached out to India and an understanding was negotiated directly between the two countries to pause military firing. Pakistan heavily depends on imported weapons to maintain its military. China is the primary supplier of weapons to Pakistan, accounting for 81% of its arms imports between 2020 and 2024. Other notable suppliers include Turkey and the Netherlands. Historically, the US was also a significant supplier, but its share has now decreased over time. This dependence limits Pakistan's ability to upgrade or maintain these systems independently, especially during long conflicts. In contrast, India has steadily built a strong domestic defense industry, developing advanced weapons like the Akash missile, D4 anti-drone system and BrahMos cruise missile. This self-reliance gives India a clear edge in both technology and long-term military sustainability. Meanwhile, besides military means, India also adopted non-military measures to school Pakistan. One major move was suspending the Indus Waters Treaty. This can have serious consequences. Pakistan relies on the Indus River for 80% of its farmland and over 90% of its water needs. It supports 237 million people and fuels a big part of the economy through crops like wheat, rice and cotton. But with limited water storage in Pakistan's dams, any disruption can cause massive crop loss, food shortages, water cuts in big cities and power outages affecting key industries like textiles and fertilizers. By suspending the treaty, India has sent a clear message. Water and blood can't flow together. India also shut the Atari-Wagah border and stopped all trade with Pakistan. Key exports like onions were halted and imports like cement and textiles were restricted. This hit Pakistan's economy hard, especially as it was already facing high inflation and debt. India also worked to expose Pakistan's links to terrorism and pushed for its global isolation. Each move, military, economic and diplomatic, was a part of India's clear message. Terrorism will be answered with strength. No words, no warnings, but only action. That's all in this edition of Connecting the Dots. We'll see you in the next episode with more raging issues. Until then, it's a goodbye from all of us in the Delhi newsroom. This is Munir signing off. Take care and stay safe.